What we have here is the end customer dashboard. So this is where if an end customer is given access, they would manage their own backups. But what we find is most MSPs are doing a fully managed service now. And this is what they would see when they are managing the backups for their own customers. So the first time you come in, obviously there wouldn't be anything in here. And the first thing you would do is you would click Add Backup. You're presented with a number of different options on which platform you want to back up. Even if you don't know the password, you could send someone an invite link, but for the purpose of this, we're doing 365. So I'll click on that. Then we, of course, if we're going to add multiple accounts, we need the global admin, and you would be presented with which global admin you want to use, and then we'll accept the permissions. And once we accept those permissions, what we've done there is we've really automated that process. So we don't store any passwords at our side. We're using the AD SSO for that, and we're trying to make that process as smooth as possible, right? And that way it's also more secure because we're not storing that data. So you have two ways of adding accounts. One is using the list here on the left. So you can go in, you can add one by one. You could say maybe this is a sales mailbox, so I want to exclude it. Or you could use the search bar to find individual accounts that you want to single out for the backup. The other option is to toggle this auto discover on, and we will detect all existing accounts and any new ones that are added in the future and add them to the backup. Depending on which way you go, if you do auto discover, you click add to backup first, you would then be taken to the dashboard where those would be added. I'm going to work my way down here on the left side. So you'll see it's kind of straightforward as we go. We'll go across here and then down. So here in the dashboard, you see how many seats are available and how many are being used. And we actually allow up to 20% of accounts to be deactivated at no cost. So that means if an end customer has 10 employees, they could keep the data of 2 old employees at no cost just by disabling them. And then we keep that data and it doesn't cost them anything. So you'll notice here we're backing up 365 because we've got the emails, the OneDrive, contacts, calendars, and tasks, SharePoint, groups, and teams. And here are the mailboxes. So if you hover over the first one here, you have a number of options. Right? The first one is you can do a restore. And when you do a restore, first you're presented with, do I want to back up a certain time, restore a certain time frame, or all time to get that whole mailbox? And then where do I want to restore it? So the default is where it came from. You could restore it to another folder that exists already, or you could create a new one. And then just click restore, and that would run. Next, you have the download. So one of the unique things about Dropsuite, there's no data lock-in. So there's no price to bring data in, and there's no cost to move your data out. It's your data. So you can download the whole mailbox as an EML or a PST at any point. There's also the migrate feature here. Think of the migrate feature as the ability to copy messages from one mailbox to another. So you could actually do time frames. So you could say like the last month, or you could say the whole mailbox, and then you can select the destination. So we can go from pretty much any email platform to another. So going from Gmail to 365, or IMAP, POP3, vice versa, or to an existing account that's already here in the backup. You also have here on the info, you'll see, of course, it's been deactivated by me, but we auto detect which parts of 365 someone is using. And as you go through, you can see when the last backup was, what was the last activity, and what's the status of the current backup. So Bob, you notice, wasn't using SharePoint, but we're backing up SharePoint. So that's something that we auto detect and do. But if we actually go down into the mailbox, there's a number of things that we can do at message level. So if we select, let's say these two, we can migrate them. So we could push them to another mailbox. We could restore them, say to maybe a different folder. or we could download them or tag them. And I'll come back to the tag later on for classification. But the reseller, they have the ability to help customers do these things. They can help them do migrations, the restores. They can help them essentially manage the backups. So if someone calls in and says, hey, I've lost something, can you help me restore that? They can do that. But the reseller only has the ability to see the metadata. So that means the to, the from, the subject, right, the date. They can't actually view the contents of the message. If they give access to the end customer could actually open up the message and view it. I have a special test account here, so I can actually do that and view both sides of that. So if I was the end customer, I could view the message, and from within the message, I could say, okay, I want to restore that back to where it came from, and I'll go ahead and download it as an EML as well. I'm going to grab this archive ID for later because I'm showing you both the backup and the archiving in this. If we go back to the dashboard, we can see that we've got the contacts, the calendars, the tasks there. We got OneDrive. So if we look at OneDrive, we can restore or download a whole user's OneDrive, right? So we could say, again, a particular point in time we want to restore. We could do a download of the whole thing. Or if we actually open it up, we can view the folders and the files. And if we do that, then we can actually go back to a different point in time. And we can take those folders and files. We can do a download or a restore. And we have options on how we want to do those restores and those downloads. Or we could select all and do the same. If we go to SharePoint, here we have a site grouping. So you have 16 sites total. You could download or restore the whole thing. If you opened it up and wanted to look at a particular site, you could download or restore that whole site. Or if you want to get specific, you could open that site up, look at the folders, actually maybe go back in time to a particular point, multiple timestamps on that day. So you could go like to that early afternoon and say, okay, actually, I want to select all those on that page and I want to restore them. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, Dropsuite's 365 backup is the most complete out there. So we're actually only ones doing, everything with this in groups and teams. So if we look at groups and teams here, you open that up. It's a site of groups, right? And we look, here's one. Open that up. You'll see where it got the chats. So any of those group chats, any files that have been shared, any sites that have been generated, any notes that are in there. You've got the planner, right? And then if there were any tasks that have been created or any shared mailboxes. You see some of these don't have any of it. And as that's auto detected, so we would back up what's there. Next, we have our advanced search. And our advanced search actually allows you to do a federated search across the whole of the 365 estate. So you can look across emails, OneDrive, SharePoint. A lot of what's in Teams is in SharePoint as well. So you could pull that up. So if I just click search to find the new stuff, we'll see here the results, right? And from the results, for example, I can go from the advanced search and take the SharePoint results. I can download them, I can restore them. Same with OneDrive, right? But if I stick with just email, then I have 18 different criteria that I can use to build a really granular search, make a really specific search. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to take all the emails that related to a particular account, and I wanted to push them to a new employee, right? I wanted to copy those messages to him. I could have a look here at the contextual help. I could say I want to look in this mailbox, or this other one. We have some pre-selected time ranges that you could use, maybe say in the last quarter. Right, and then we could do that search, and we could actually take the results of that, and we could download them, we could restore them, but we could also copy them to another mailbox. And you notice again here that tag, right? I'll come back to that. After the advanced search, we have our email attachments. So our attachment manager is because sometimes people can't remember who sent the message or what was the subject of the email, but they do remember maybe the file type or what was the file name. So they could do a quick search here, and they could find it that way. Or they could say, okay, I remember the file type, and directly from here they could download it. And if you have much experience doing searches for stuff within whether it be your Outlook client or the web app, you know that oftentimes what you're looking for, you know it's there and it's not showing up, or a file that you sent, it's just not there. So I actually consider the number of attachments that I send out every week. I actually keep this open all the time. It's just much faster. Next, we have the system status, and here you can see the status of backups, for example, across the whole of the platform. Looking to see for a blue one that's currently running. On the downloads, if you didn't grab that link when that green notification box popped up, you could later on come back and grab that download here. And if you did any migrations, for example, you'd see those here as well. See the last one that I ran. Same one restores. Next, we have the compliance. And visually, the difference between the two tiers of the Dropsuite product is this compliance tab. So Cloud Backup has this, but not the compliance tab. What we've done in the background actually for the compliance is when you went over here and clicked Add Backup and went through the process of adding those accounts, in the background, as we were populating them here, what we did is we provisioned a journal mailbox in the cloud. We populated all the journal rules and connected all those mailboxes together. So what would normally take several minutes per mailbox, we do in a matter of seconds for a few or thousands of mailboxes. Right? We can do that really fast, and we automate that process. So the first level of compliance is discovery. You want to be able to find things. So the e-discovery allows you to create a search, an advanced search. You have all those criteria again, but with the ability to save it. So you can give it a name, and it'll continue to run in the background. And here you see all your saved e-discovery searches. But once you discover something, the next level is to be notified about it. And I'll touch on this mark for review as I go down here at the end. So here's where you can toggle the alerts on and off so that whoever created that e-discovery search will get notified when something matching it comes in. So once you discover something and you're notified that it's come in, the next level that you want to be able to do is to classify. So you find something, you're notified it's come in, and now you want to classify it. So this is where you can create and manage tags. And again, on every page, we have these contextual helps to help either the support staff at the MSP or the end customer as they're working within the control panel here. So let's say that you create a tag and you've already classified some messages with it. You could then go back in here and pull up all the existing emails that you've classified and categorized that way. You'll notice that these messages have legal hold and 10-year on them. So here we have a legal hold on them and a retention period of 10 years. So next, we have the retention policies. So the default for Dropsuite is never delete, but sometimes depending on the industry, you have specific rules. Like in finance, a lot of countries it's 7 years, and we have everything from 6 months, which is a typical new employee trial period, on through 10 years. And you can enable that for a single, bulk, or the whole organization. And you see here your list of retention policies. Next, we have the legal hold. And you've probably all heard of legal hold. Oftentimes that's because it's the most common use. If someone goes to court, the first thing that the judge says is, don't delete any messages, don't delete any data. So you can enable a legal hold for one, many, or all the emails in an organization. But it can be maybe a company's going through transition, right? They're changing IT platforms. There's all kinds of reasons why you want to keep emails from being deleted when you're going through this process, right? So you can enable those legal holds, and they're good until you remove them, at which point any retention policies that were being affected could go back to work. After that, we've got the audit log, and it's broken down into 3 parts: anything the system has done, anything a user has done, and message and file level, so that you have a full chain of custody once something goes into the archive, right? So instead of showing you like a whole audit log, I actually grabbed the archive ID earlier of that one message, and I'll show you what that message and file audit log looks like. So you'll see here first the timestamp, who was the user. In this case, I've logged in as the client, the reseller, and you can see here the different things that were done: download, restore, generated download. What was the object type? In this case, I'm focused on just one message, so you see only email, and you see here the object ID, right, within the archive, the location, and the IP address. So a reseller could actually take this, download it, right? And then whether they're doing quarterly business reviews with the end customer, or they need to show compliance, or they want to provide it just for the records of the customer to have assurance that everything is being done at above board and it can be gone back to prove that, they could provide these audit logs. Lastly, within the compliance, we have the review process. So the review process, once you've created e-discovery search, you can actually flag it for review, right? And once you do that, you would see it here. And within the review process, you'll see I have a number of them. So there was one here created that's got a total of 17 messages. 8 have been reviewed. There's 9 left. So if I was a reviewer, I could open that up and I could see, okay, these have been reviewed. All fine. Here's the next one. So maybe I'm a data protection officer, or I'm a head of human resources looking for sexual harassment keyword terms. I could go into the review, look at the message. Okay, in this case, it's not much. I could look at the audit log. And then, of course, because we're doing the journaling, we have the headers. So I could look at the transport rules, how it is that they got to where it is, kind of the nitty-gritty side of email. And if everything's fine, I can mark it as reviewed. Within the review process, let's say that you're the head of like the owner of the company, or the legal counsel of the company. You could create a review process for someone and then grant access to it here. But in this case, you see we don't have any of these set up. So the next thing we do is we go to user management. And the user management is where you can do a number of things. So here you would see the list of people that you have already backed up, the accounts. So we have a number of different roles, and within the archiver, we have 8 different roles. These compliance, review, and limited reviewer are unique to the archiver, and they would not be in the cloud backup only. So the cloud backup would have these other ones, starting at user read only, which is someone that can search within and restore their own messages. But for example, they can't download them and they can't copy them or migrate them somewhere else. A full user could. You also have like an IT admin. This would be someone that has been given access so they can create and add new accounts, change permissions, but they don't have access to the compliance tab. A group admin would be someone like the director of a department, or a full admin would be like the owner of the company. They have full access across this tenant. You have these other roles though: compliance and review officer, a reviewer who only has access to the review process tab, or a limited reviewer who only has access to a particular review that they've been given access to. So how does that work? So let's say it's Steve here. He's been deleting a lot of messages. I want to give him access to his backups so he can manage them himself. Okay, he's user read only. I now toggle that over, and he's got an email saying, hey, set up your password, you have access to your backups. Maybe Monday is the IT admin at the organization, so we want to give him access, right? And maybe Bob is the director of finance. So we go over here to the departments. You could actually create and manage departments here to mirror the organizational structure of our client. And then we could say, okay, Bob is in finance. These guys are all part of the football team. So now we can go back and say Bob is the group admin for finance. Toggle that over and he's got access now. If we want to give delegated access outside of Dropsuite, we can do that, right? They don't have to necessarily have an email at the organization. So you see we've already got one here, but maybe we want to give someone like a financial auditor. Maybe the end customer has an auditor that's looking over their financials, so they could create a review process specifically for them, right? They could set up that account for them and give them access to a specific review process, or as a reviewer, right? To actually view anything within that they've been given access to. You agree, and you send them a link with an invite. And here you would see under the invitation list what those are. So those last for 24 hours, and you could renew it by resending it, right? Or you could cancel it.